Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner Studio, and with me today is Tim O'Mara. Did I get that said right?
You got it.
Tim is an entrepreneur and a chef, and he's running a little business. I'm sure you've seen it going up Royal Avenue called Red Light Studio or Culinary Studio.
That's right. It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. What's kind of good? A mouthful?
Yeah, pun intended. Right?
Tim, explain us what your business is all about.
Well, our business is really pursuing the meals that people are consuming at home. It started as kind of a personal chef service where I was acquiring clients and going to their homes and cooking.
Right.
And it really started to gain some traction, and then COVID came along. So we had to kind of retool our efforts there, and we started preparing fresh, made-from-scratch meals and putting them in round foil containers with the cardboard lids, and people just pop them in their oven, reheat them for 30 minutes, and they've got a restaurant-quality meal. So COVID kind of forced a redirection in what we were originally doing or what we had kind of planned on doing. But it also kind of really opened up an avenue for business like this to exist on a little larger scale. So when the opportunity came along to take the building at 1202 North Royal, we saw it as kind of the perfect space for what we were doing. We didn't need a dining room, so we don't have eat-in traffic. It's all either pickup or delivery. And it's based on a pre-order. So every week on Wednesday, we post a menu that has 5 entrees on it. 2 of those entrees are available for pickup or delivery on Monday, and 3 of the remaining 3 entrees are available for pickup or delivery on Wednesday. And they're refrigerated, they're made from scratch, whole foods. We've got a focus on eliminating things like additives and preservatives, artificial colors, flavors, things like that that are commonly found in convenience foods that you might get out of the grocery store.
Right. So these foods, they still have to be cooked.
They are fully cooked meals.
Oh, are they? Okay.
They're all you really need to, you're really just reheating these.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so we don't have to cook them. It's really just sit down and eat it.
That's right. That's right. You know, some of the meal kit programs really gained a lot of traction 5 or 6 years back.
Sure.
You know, but you know, you still have to prep the food. You still have to clean up afterwards. You still, that sort of thing.
I looked into that. I'm thinking, some of these meals you buy, it would cost you a fortune because you have to have so many different ingredients, and you only want to make serving for like 2.
Right, and that's a really interesting point. While we were kind of searching for our demographic, we realized how prominent that issue is. And that, I just need 1 stalk of celery, but I got to buy a whole head of it, right?
Yeah.
And, the statistics say that the average household wastes over 40% of the food that they buy. And at first I thought that was a really high number, but when I really started to think through that, I could see that being true. Especially if you're trying to cook for 1 or 2 people.
Well, it's just my wife and myself, and we go to the grocery store, and next thing you know, it comes time for trash day. I'm pulling stuff out of the refrigerator. I'm thinking, we didn't even use this, and it's already done decayed, to the point where it's unusable.
Well, we've got really, food prices are increasing. It seems like exponentially every time you go to the store. It's $1 more than it was the last time. So I think the impact is really hitting people at home. So statistics again say that, of course, post-COVID, the more people are eating more meals at home than they were before.
Yeah,
I think I've spent over 40 years in the restaurant business, and every year there was growth. It was just more and more restaurants. They were busier and busier. It may have had a lot to do with people commuting longer distances to work and various other things that caused that. But COVID really reined that in. And I think the trend is continuing that people are eating more meals at home.
Right.
And that, is further complicated, I think, by rising food prices and rising labor prices in restaurants. It's getting very pricey to eat meals in somebody's dining room at a restaurant anymore.
So some of your meals, what kind of things have you had on the menu, let's say, recently?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Mike, we're not trying to win any Michelin stars here, but I believe in just taking the steps right. Cooking is a series of steps.
Sure.
It's procedures. And if you just stick to those, you're going to get a good outcome. But we're trying to keep our entrees kind of middle of the road, things that you would recognize, maybe even things you might prepare for yourself.
So no
at
foo-foo
home.
stuff put on there.
Yeah, we do a little frou-frou, and we do some of that. I mean, I went to culinary school
Sure.
right out of high school.
You just call
so
it.
I
You
have
just
that.
use French words for the same stuff.
That's really right. And you know what? It's funny because I'm not a lot for that, But no, let's see. We did chicken piccata. We did shrimp and grits last week.
Yeah.
But basic things like meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
And you don't have to order all 5. You can just order one thing.
No, you can cherry pick that menu. You can
pretty
order
cool.
anything that you'd like in any quantity that you would like.
And you mentioned some delivery, so you deliver in the Front Royal area?
We do. We've got a 3-mile radius from the shop, and of course, with the lay of the land here, it's really more about time than it is distance.
Sure.
There's some spots within 3 miles of the shop that are kind of remote and hard to get to, but it's really supposed to build an efficiency and making sure people are getting things at the times that they've ordered them.
Yeah.
So.
It sounds like an interesting thing. I know I've tried some of these meal frozen things, and the frozen ones just aren't quite the same as trying to heat up something that's been frozen or comes. They call it fresh, but it's been in a bag of what do you call dry ice for 3 days.
Well, it could, and freezing. There's nothing wrong with freezing food, but it does ultimately change the texture of food. There's a lot that goes on,
and you got to be so careful. Like when you make it, what can I heat up? I can't put a lot of lettuce in there.
Well, that's an interesting point that you brought up because making these meals for these containers to be reheated is a very different style of cooking than an a la carte restaurant that's putting it on the plate and serving it to you immediately.
Right.
So there's a lot of, and at the beginning there's a lot of kind of trial and error. You want everything to heat up so that, in the old Hungry Man meals, you got like scalding hot apples and then ice cold, chicken fried steak or something.
Exactly.
But it took a fair amount of time, and I had some very patient customers at the beginning giving me really good feedback.
Yeah.
So, it's a subjective business. Food is subjective, right?
This worked, this doesn't work, and there's some things you just don't put in there.
Exactly. There's things that just don't work in that container. You don't want to put a slice of bread in there because the steam's going to build up inside the container and it's going to make it soggy. Yeah. So you have to really kind of think through that. It changes some of the procedural parts of cooking to make that turn out correctly in a reheatable container.
It sounds pretty cool. So how do you do all this? What's the procedure we go through?
As a customer?
As a customer.
Well, again, we publish a menu. We release information through Facebook, and there's an email sign up on our website. So you just put your email in, and you'll get a notification when the menu goes up.
You send out an email beforehand. Here's our menu.
Yeah, so we'll announce it on Facebook, and then the email will go out. So anybody who is seeing Facebook or is getting that email knows that the menu has now gone live, and that happens on Wednesday, usually around lunchtime.
Right.
And they have between Wednesday at lunchtime and Sunday at 5 o'clock to place orders for the following week. So it sounds kind of complicated, I think, but it's super simple to use once you get into the
cycle,
swing
don't
of it.
you? You have to get into the cycle.
That's right.
A lot of people are using this thing when they're shopping for you at the grocery store. You're buying your meals. We're just completely changed COVID kind of changed the way we do things, and now people are starting to modify that and adapt it to a pro-COVID life, and some have never gone back. They really like it and just stay in with the shopping and the meals and the different things like that.
I think what COVID did was divide people into kind of groups, and we get a lot of this feedback from our customers from either it's, I'm just one person and I have a lot of food waste, or I've got some kids that are super busy and they're in soccer and dance and all these other things, and we're swinging through fast food joints a lot, and they want to provide a better quality meal for their families. And all the way down to people that are just telling us straight away, I'm a horrible cook, and this is great,
So Tim, the price points, what are they? Are they vary with the items, or they're pretty much straight across the board?
Right now, I'm doing a straight pricing to keep everything predictable. So right now, each entree is going at $14.
Okay.
Again, I think that in my estimation, and from my experiences recently going out to eat, I think those entrees may cost you nearly twice as much if you go and eat them at a restaurant and you get the full service routine.
Even buying at fast food places like our McDonald's and Arby's and everything else we have, you can't get out of there for less than $10.
Well, I'm guilty of swinging through Wendy's the other night and it was $13.
Yeah.
So, and that's
thinking,
burger fries and a
I could have had one of my meals at home.
That's right, and we want to think that it's healthier for you.
Yeah.
I don't call it health food per se,
Right.
but healthier in that it's made from real ingredients,
Right.
whole foods, and
A little more nourishment. Yeah.
Right. There's not a lot of hidden sugars in there, stuff like that.
Right.
We also kind of consider, and this really came from a little health problem I had myself with some blood pressure and just moderating salt, sugar, fats, things like that. So they're there, but we try and cook with that in mind and moderating those things. I think those are the roots of...
Keep the spice levels pretty mild, and if there is any foods like that.
Right. You don't want to do things that are super hot because not everybody is into that. So we try and keep it middle of the road.
Yeah.
The entrees that we serve are things that are familiar to folks. And again, things they might endeavor to cook that for themselves at home.
Well, how about on a personal note, as a chef, do you feel rewarded doing this?
I do. I love this. I've had a long career in the restaurant business, from independently owned restaurants to country clubs and resorts and things like that. And what we did is we took, in my estimation, what are the best practices and kind of put them all together to streamline the cost of the product. So I had a customer the other day say to me, "I can't believe you can do it at this price." I said, "Really, you do it at this price because you're willing to jump through a couple of hoops.
Sure.
You're making the pre-order, you go
Right.
online, you're paying in advance,
Yeah.
those kind of things." But what happens on our end, Mike, is that we know exactly how much of everything we
I
need.
need 14 pork chops and 32
Exactly.
chicken breasts. Yeah.
And so it streamlines
waste.
the labor, the food costs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's an excess of waste in a lot of restaurants just by the nature of what it is.
Yeah.
And by eliminating that waste and streamlining all those costs, we want to continue to deliver a high quality meal at a very reasonable price point.
Yeah. First thing I thought of, you said you had a lot of restaurant experience, was, boy, you worked every Friday night, every Saturday night, and now you work Monday and Tuesday nights.
That's right. That's right.
You actually got the weekend off. That's
Yeah.
unheard of.
That's a lot of years of 60, 70-hour weeks, work until 2 in the morning. And
So this is a
that
piece
sort
of cake.
things. So it's a lot of fun. It really is. And the reward was far more than I expected it to be. Just very sincere stories from people. We have some clients that are getting a little older and maybe starting to experience some health problems, and they don't get around as well, or they can't get out shopping as easily. And, just to hear that it fits a need in people's lives is super rewarding for me.
They look at your menu, and I'm sure you have some customers that really like that one item.
Sure.
And you know that, Fred's going to order that,
Well, it's evolved into kind of a community kitchen.
Yeah.
There's a following to it. People give us input, things that they love, things that they didn't love so much, or what have you. And we use that information going forward. So as we get the feedback from our clients or our guests, we'll repeat items that they like a lot more, or we'll make modifications and things just based on their input. Shrimp and grits was on last week's menu, but it was because a couple of weeks ago somebody says, "When are you going to do shrimp and grits again?" And it just went right on the menu. So, and I think they get a kick out of that. Being it
helps spread the word.
That's
right.
right.
It sounds like you latched onto something that fits right in, helps our community, helps you, helps your family. It's a win-win.
It's really rewarding. It really is. It's doing what I really enjoy doing in a way I enjoy doing it, and I'm connecting with a group of people that it either fits a need in their lives, or they like the experiment of this.
Sure.
So there's a uniqueness to it, and my wife works with me. We're just two people, and we've got a gentleman that helps us part-time. So we're just a little place, kind of micro business, if you will. So we have a limited capacity, but through time and kind of retooling some efforts inside, we've been able to increase our capacity. And
Kind of like a assembly line, right?
it is, because a lot of the years that I was working in corporate operations, we were doing banquets, and I used to say to my staff, or when I was teaching managers, I would say, they removed the three biggest variables for us. What are they having to eat? How many are there going to be, and what time are they going to be here?
Right.
Those three factors tell you everything you need to know, and it starts to streamline the amount of work and the actual operation of plating or setting up.
We travel up through upstate New Jersey. You see diners on every street corner, and you go in there, and the menu's like 42 pages.
Right.
You're thinking like, this is not fresh.
No, I said, in those places, don't order the fish, right?
But and it's like the same thing. You don't know. Whatever you want, we got it. And can you imagine the kitchen and just they figure out how to do it?
Yeah, I used to see those big menus and think you can't possibly do all of these things really, really well, right? And through all my years, what I found is, regardless of the type of concept, do what you do. Yeah. Do it really well, and your audience is going to find you.
I always look through it takes me 20 minutes to read the menu, then I say, I'll take the meatloaf.
That's right. That's right. Well, too many choices sometimes.
That's what I told people. Sometimes less is more,
I think it is. It allows us to focus on those particular items. Yeah. So we serve well-rounded meals. It's, I think first and foremost, it's about portion control. Yeah. Right. Being in the industry as long as I had, I think we really distorted people's perceptions of what a portion of food is supposed to look like. We started serving giant platters.
It's supposed to be your fist, right?
That's exactly right. So we do, basically like a 6-ounce protein, 6 ounces of some kind of starch, pasta, rice, potatoes of some sort, and fresh steamed vegetables. Yeah. I think that's a great success. Sure. It sounds, a side of vegetables isn't that interesting, really, but
you're making me cough. I'm thinking of broccoli.
Well, but to get those so that they're not mushy, it's a technique that.
Let me tell you a real quick story about it. My wife fixed asparagus and fresh, and my daughter ate it. She said, "Ooh, this is terrible." She wanted it out of the can. You know how it is in a can, right?
Yeah,
it's terrible,
mushy.
But that's what they grew up on, and when you cooked it fresh and it was a little, just nice and crispy like it's supposed to be. She said, "Oh, I want the canned asparagus."
Right. Yeah, all the vegetables are al dente, so there's still, there's still a bite to them.
A bite to it.
We've gotten more compliments on sides of vegetables, so it's interesting.
Makes a difference on how you cook them.
We're a little vegetable centric too. As a balanced plate. When I was raising my kids, I, at some point, having spent so much time in food, really started to hone in on, in our house, it was the blue box of macaroni and cheese. Right. And I see how macaroni and cheese is really simple to make. Right. I made a contest out of it for my kids, like who could make the creamiest mac and cheese. But they were making it from scratch, realizing they didn't need the convenience of that blue box.
Right.
And it kind of grew from there. So both my kids learned to cook, pretty much as as soon as they could see over the stove.
My wife, and she won't watch this, so I can tell you. She cooks. The kitchen has got stuff piled everywhere. She tries to follow the recipe. She doesn't know how to substitute things, and so again, a lot of waste. But it's always good. I mean, but some people cook that way. Me, I just grab stuff and whatever looks good, I throw it in the pot and back of the stove soup. You know what I mean?
And sometimes your best meals will come from that. Right?
We make a soup occasionally, a couple times a month. And it's never made the same way twice.
Well, you're avant-garde.
It's similar.
Right?
It's similar, but it's never the same. Well, that one's really good. I forgot what I put in it.
Well, I mean, we don't really cook with recipes either. We follow a procedure, and a lot of that really we arrived at through what turns out well in the container. There's some experimentation.
Again, like I said, I've sampled a lot of these type of meals, so we'll get some of yours. And we're going to try them.
I sure hope so.
I looked at the menus a lot, and then I look at, we're going to be out of town. I got to work late. And I'm looking at all the schedule, and I think I'm going to end up with this meals and throw them away, because that's what happened when I bought the ones,
Yeah.
And I said, nah.
We certainly don't want that either. We're about minimizing that food waste. waste.
We can just buy one and try it.
You certainly can.
There you go.
I'd be happy to deliver it to you right here.
Well, my gosh, look at that. All right. That is the Red Light Culinary Studio. And check it out. I'm going to put the link below the video to their website and their Facebook page. Check out their menu. Sign up to get their emails. That way you'll know maybe there's an item on there that you like and you just really don't want to fix yourself because it takes so many ingredients. And that would be a good test.
Yeah, it works. It works almost a commissary style.
Yeah,
where we bundle all the food purchasing, all the prep work, all the cooking, all the cleanup right for you, and it's easy. It's certainly easier to do it for a whole bunch of people at one time.
Let me tell you the secret of how this really works well. You buy the stuff, you warm it up in the oven, you take it out of the container and put it on it, and you plate it, and you serve it to your spouse. Say, I worked in the kitchen all day for you.
That's right. Make sure and throw a little flour on yourself. And, whew, I've been just slaving all day over a hot stove.
Don't wash the dishes for a week, and they'll think you were in there working. But seriously, it's true though. It tastes better on a plate.
That's true. That's true. Although some of our customers really enjoy kind of eating out of that container, not dirtying a plate.
Yeah, that's true.
And just one more thing to mention is that we package things in recyclable containers. So, a lot of folks, myself included, are avid recyclers, and so you can just rinse that container out, throw it in your recycling. And there's no waste there.
Rinse it out and use it over again for something else.
That's right.
Yeah. Put somebody else's leftovers. Tim, it was a pleasure talking to you. Again, we'll put the links below. Hope people get on there and check you out. And if you see a whole lot of menu orders this week, you can.
I'm going to give you a call.
Give me a call. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me today, Mike.